Are you a doctor trying to elevate your practice and make your impact on the world long lasting? Ready to go from a hustler to a CEO? Man, you already know. Welcome to the Michael Buffington Show, the podcast that's transforming the lives of doctors. You ready? Let's go.
Hey, I'm Michael Buffington, and welcome back to the Michael Buffington Show. I want to start today from the end, and that is the decision to not cheat. Now, the decision to not cheat comes to me from a story that I can remember just like yesterday. I was standing at a bar area, a restaurant that I frequented. Had season tickets to the Mavericks for, 8, 10 years. And I shared that with a good friend of mine. We went down and we became really good friends with a couple other guys that he introduced me to. And all of us were doing really well in life. I was the only chiro. They were in other things. One was a PT. A couple other guys were in insurance world. And it was a great time. These were guys that I loved hanging out with and loved kind of doing life with. Now, granted, at that point, I was in my late 20s, and we were running pretty hard, if you want to talk about it in those terms. And I remember standing at that bar that night. Often we'd order some food, we'd share food and drink, and then they would take us down to the arena, drop us off, and we'd go to the game. They would bring us back. We would often hang out more, and that was the routine that we got into. So we knew everybody there. It was a great time, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity. But there was one night that things changed for me. And these guys don't know it, and we'll see if they happen to hear this podcast or not. But we were standing there one night, and again, we'd had some adult beverages, and everybody's having a good time. And one of them, who was the elder statesman, if you will, of the group, turned to me, and he said, "Hey, you're always going to want to run, so just forget about it. Get it out of your head." That time, I'm like, I think I know what he means. And that was just running hard and could mean running around. Now, at that point, I was not married, or at least I don't think I was married at that time. It's not super relevant because Paige knows this story extremely well. But in that moment, I remember leaving that night after a great time, and it just kept running in my head and running in my head and running in my head. And he was telling me, look, you're always going to want to do this, so don't act as if somehow you're going to do it differently, and you just need to quit fighting that thing. Why he felt the need to say that to me that night, I have zero idea. But what I know is it changed me. Now, it wasn't a snap of the fingers that it stuck to me. And I'm going to get to why it's relevant in your life and in your business, because from that moment, I began to question everything I was doing and not doing. And that was in my relationship. That was in how I showed up to certain things. It was really never about practice and how I was taking care of people. I believe I always did that at a high level, and you'd have to ask my patients over the years, but I think they would all agree. I gave them everything I had. So it wasn't a question of that, but I still was compartmentalizing areas of my life and doing it a certain way, and it just stuck to me. And I was like, really? Is this the way it's going to be? Because that didn't sound like, for some people, that may sound like, hey, that sounds like fun. That sounds like the way I'd like to do it. That just sounds like, hey, it's going to be that way. Not for me. It didn't sit well with me. And I thank God that it put on my heart that this is not going to work for me. And the reason why is that led to, it was part of the community that I was hanging with. And I realized that I was hanging with a couple of single guys like me and one that was married. And the married one is the one that said it. He's the one that actually said that. And I was like, this is not good. So the starting at the back and going to the front is like, are you making decisions based on the community, the people, as you've heard, the top 5 that you hang out with? Are you making decisions in your life and in your business? You cannot separate those entirely with those people in mind, or with the guidance and mentorship and challenge of those people. Because making decisions, so getting to decisions, you're going to make decisions out of strategy if it's a long-term decision. You're going to make decisions from that gut, that intuition, that performance side of you and other situations. Now, the way I break that out is those situations that you have to make those decisions that you have to make, they're quick, they need attention, you got to make them. Yes, I believe in the gut. I believe in intuition. I believe in the Holy Spirit. I believe in your voice, that inner part of you that knows the direction you want to go to take your life in the direction that you want to take it. Now, when you get more strategic in business and life, right, that's the planning part. That's what are you going to do in 1, 3, and 5 years? What are you going to do in a year? What are you going to do in the current quarter? What are you going to do in the current month? What are you going to do in the current week? What are you going to do today? Like, strategy is involved. Frameworks are involved. Patterns, behaviors, all of those things are involved. So one of the first decisions that I would challenge each and every one of you to make right now is to not overcommit yourself. Again, I mentioned this. I did a podcast on this. I did a show on this already. And I just mentioned it on another show that I recorded. It's like, don't be a hobbyist. And sometimes a hobbyist is, even if your skill level allows it, or so you think it does, you'll be involved in so many businesses. Most people don't start with 8 businesses, 6 businesses, 3 businesses. They start with 1. They run one really, really well. And because of that success, and because of those habits, because of those behaviors, because of those successes, right? Success leaves clues. They actually evolve to have the other businesses. Don't think it goes the other way. I see people that come out of the gates and they haven't even been fully successful in one business, and they've got 5. And I've fallen into this trap. So make a decision first to not overcommit yourself to the things that are not important. Does this take you in the direction you want to go? Because many decisions that you make could work. A lot of them can work. There's not really a right or wrong all the time. Is there a better and best? Yes. Does one get you there faster? Probably. But sometimes you just have to go. Sometimes you just have to do. And then you figure out what's in between. I thought it was interesting. Jeff Bezos, I heard him say, I don't know how else to give the credit, but here's somebody who's obviously made some big decisions. Here's somebody who started Amazon, and it wasn't meant to be anything like it is today. It wasn't supposed to be the breadth that it has today as a company globally. And there's so many facets of Amazon that were never even on the radar. And he stated that you typically need 60 to 70% of the data to make a decision that you think you do. So many of you, and I've seen you get paralyzed in this, you just want more information. Some of us are hardwired to want more information. Some of you visionaries out there, you're hardwired that you don't need much information. You're just going to go. But you also, if you're not careful, can be the person that becomes the hobbyist because you have another idea. You haven't even executed on the first one to try it, and you're already on to the next one. So it will suck you down that path. So the biggest piece about decision making is to make one, because you don't want to delay in the comfort of what you know. Now stop for a second. I heard that said somewhere. I don't even know where to give the credit to. I won't take the credit, but you need to write that down. Don't delay in the comfort of what you know. So many times we can just get in a good spot and we will stay there. So we tell ourselves there's all these other reasons that we're not making the decision, that we're not moving forward, that we're not taking action. And it really is back to the fact that we're comfortable where we are. Maybe we're comfortable with the money that we make. Maybe we're comfortable with the relationships that we have. Maybe we're comfortable with our fitness level, our health, etc. Even if it's not top notch, even if it's not what we say we want, there's a part of us that is very comfortable with it. And if you are, you won't make a decision to do anything different. Now, in practice, in business, in life, all the way across the board, right? Leaders make decisions. Hear me again. Leaders make decisions. Are they always the right one? No. But to be a leader, you have to be willing to make the decision, because if you're constantly waffling back and forth and you're not clear on it and you're changing lanes all the time, that's not leadership, because many people are hanging on to the tail of you and you're just whipping them around and they're just along for the ride. And not everybody can tolerate that very well. It takes a lot to hang on for very long. So if you notice in your life and your business, you've got a lot of collateral damage and you're losing people along the way, there's probably a piece of that that's going on there, that you're not clear in your leadership, or you're not making decisions. So they think that it's just rhetoric. They think that you're not going to do anything different. So therefore they're hostage to the situation of you. Now, that's a whole nother podcast on their own personal accountability. But for you, you have to be personal accountable and how you are going to present yourself. How are you going to move forward? Now, and when I started practice, I didn't know. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any family that was in the business. I didn't have anybody that had a clue about it. Like construction work and farming, while meaningful from an entrepreneurial perspective and a work ethic perspective, did not tell me how to run a practice. It's an entirely different thing to buy a $600,000 combine, just one combine, okay? Not including trucks, tractors, implements, putting out crops. That's way different. Whenever we think we're in, taxed really hard, whenever you got to buy $1,000, $2,000 adjusting table that will last for 15 or 20 years, let alone a combine you're going to buy for $600, and 2 years from now it's going to be worth $350, and 5 years from now it's going to be a fraction of even of that. Way different game, way different set of rules, okay? But some things do translate. So what did I do? I surrounded myself with people that knew more than me, with people that had done it before, with people that had done more than me, that people, quite honestly, at the time, had done things that I wanted to do. Now, the challenge in that too, they may do the things that you want to do in one area, but not in every area. I'm sure even with the people that I coach and lead, and even the people that I work with in Curus, they may like certain things I do and have aspire to do similar things. In other areas of life, they have zero interest in having a life that looks like mine does. Okay? And that's part of the freedom. You get to choose, but in that choosing, you have to make decisions. You have to make those decisions that matter for you. And you really end up, if you're not careful here, you end up nickel and diming yourself with your time. And time is something that we know you can't get back. It's a huge component of the dream equation that I always talk about, because there is an amount of time required. And here's the thing, I don't know when the payoff window is. Sometimes, right, you can do some type of weight loss or fitness thing and you can see results in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Will they stick? I don't know. Will they stick in the way you did it? Yeah, I think if it's done properly, it will. But my point is, you don't know the payoff window. Sometimes the payoff window is a year. Sometimes it's 2. Sometimes it's 5. Sometimes it's 10. I got to tell you, after being married with my, so I've been married twice, but been with my current wife 27, almost 28 years, coming up close to 28 years, 23 of those together. The payoff window on that, and we've had a lot of good years, okay? A lot of good years. I used to tell that joke like, hey, we've had 21 years, of happiness. Whatever you would, I would short the real number of years. That joke just never really goes over very well. I hope you get the context of it. And I actually hope that my wife doesn't listen to this podcast, because she'll be like, really? You had to tell that joke again? And it's not even that funny. So here we are. I digress for a moment. But ultimately, the payoff window for us is now. The payoff window has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And the ROI on the water under the bridge, the time under tension, the amount of training that we've done on ourselves, the way that we surround ourselves with people that make us better over the years has helped our relationship get better. So the payoff window is now. After all those years, guess what? In year 1, if you ask her, I don't know, it was a big payoff. And I'm not really even sure how she felt about year 5 or 7 or 10. The payoff is not the same as what it is now. So make sure that you have a perspective on that. However, still today, each and every day, you're faced with thousands of decisions to make. And you really need to be all in, or you need to be all out. One of the things I'm most proud of about me and the way that I coach, and I coach the guys in Game Changer, is do not sit the fence. Okay? I would rather that you choose out and don't work with me and go find a group or a coach or a mentor or something that suits you than to keep one foot in and then not be willing to do what it takes. And quite frankly, you end up hostage in the decision-making process. It's exactly why we have the decision velocity formula. And, I've gone more in depth than that on a lot of other things, but it's simply running your thoughts, your decisions through a funnel, which is facts, feelings, focus, and fruit, which I was taught. And when you separate that out, you make clearer decisions, you make them more intelligently, you make them more quickly, and you've thought of all the angles. So going back to the very first of this show, and that was talking about strategy. There is strategy, there is clarity, there is consideration all involved. But ultimately, once you have those things, you just have to go and make a decision. And it's on you to do it. So whatever it is that you're doing today, be all in or be all out. Go back to not overcommitting yourself. If you're an out, be out. And there's no harm in that. There's no shame in that. I think it's taken me a long time. And I have a tendency, I don't know that I'm a hardcore people pleaser, but I definitely have a tendency there. And I guarantee you, talking to my Kairos that care about people, want to serve people and do it all the time, there's a part of you, almost all of you, that wants to please people. You want to serve them in a way, but you want them to like you. You want them to get results. You want all those things. And there's part of it in here for whatever reason. That's probably why we ended up in the profession. So if you're not pleasing somebody, it doesn't feel good. All right. And even if you're not pleasing yourself with your actions, that doesn't feel good either. That's how these decisions can have much bigger impacts if you're not willing to make them. So all the way back to the beginning of the show, I sat there and I drove home that night and I thought about it from all these days, all the days ahead, and went, what if this wasn't said to me? Because it drew a little bit of a line in the sand. And I recognized at that point that if I wanted to make good decisions in my life, which is really what I wanted this show to be about, making decisions and how you can make them more effectively and get better results because of it. But part of that has to do with who are you surrounding yourself with? And I realized, and these are great guys. One of them, God rest his soul, it didn't turn out well for him. I'll leave that there. It didn't turn out well for him. And there was nothing more hard than to watch his life do that and then be able to see him in the hospital at the end and knowing the potential that he had and who I really believed him to be. And all of us were there and all of us saw that. So all three of us saw that other side. And but it reminded me back to that night, and I went, I can't, at this moment, I can't put myself in this situation with this mentality, with this groupthink, if you will, of these guys. Because here's what I was doing. I was in a relationship, even though it was early. One of them was, and I was running my life like I was single. I was running my life like I was single. And it's like running your life like you're not a business person. It's running your life as if you don't care about your kids. It's running your health as if somehow you're going to live forever and you're not going to pay the consequences. So just make a good decision today. And that's my challenge to you. Where do you need to say no? There's something right now through the process of this show that you're saying, I need to decommit. It's okay. You can do that. Or I need to just say no to an offer or an opportunity that's been in front of me. Maybe it's not right. Maybe it's just not the right time. But a no works. And whatever you do when you leave today, make some decisions on being all in or all out. And that's a small number of things. All in or all out. I want you to keep learning. I want you to keep living fully, leading boldly. And as always, remember, you are your legacy. And every decision you make contributes to that in one way or another. I hope you enjoyed today's show. I hope it touched your heart. I hope it touched your mind. And I want you to go put it in practice in your life. Share this up with somebody you know that it can help them. We'll see you soon.